You're here, I'm queer, and welcome back to my channel. This project has been a roller coaster. It has been a challenge, to say the least. I want to end my Ariel series with a bang, and we've reached the finale. That being said, we're going to make her victory dress, also known as her magic dress, also known as her lavender dress, also known as her sparkle dress, whatever you want to call it. I want to give her a true goddess vibe, so incorporating some Renaissance elements felt necessary. The Birth of Venus is one of my favorite art subjects of all time, and I've made a devil version before, and now I think it's time for Halley's Ariel to take the spotlight. Of course, the classic inspirations are Botticelli's and Bugajos, but Dita Von Teese's and Uma Thurman's Venus were also great inspirations. That level of drama and fantasy is what I wanted and needed from the live-action Little Mermaid. I wanted her dress to have this constant wet look, which was inspired by Di Pezza's dresses, and also Simone's step-down look from Drag Race. I'm retaining her original look for the most part, but I am redesigning it to give her gown a more dramatic mermaid silhouette. Of course, it needs to look sparkly and wet, so finding the right fabric was paramount. We're gonna make her a grand shell base, and we're also going to make her into a fountain. Yes, a freaking working water fountain. I want her to look like she's rising from the waters and have that moment captured through this doll. So get ready, grab some snacks, sit back, and witness the birth of Ariel. So here's the two pairs of shells that I got. This one is a lot lighter, and the shape of it obviously is a lot different. And actually it's not a pair, but I put it together to see how it would look closed. I do like it because the bottom part of both of them is flat here. As you can see, I can lift it with one hand. It's still very heavy though, definitely very heavy, but a lot lighter than this one. This one is like plastic. This one is like, I have no idea, maybe ceramic. There's no flat bottom, so it just wobbles everywhere. As you can see, it's a lot bigger than this one, a lot wider overall too. But I do like how this one is more severe looking, like the curves of the clam. And this one's a little bit more subtle. The studio isn't as clean as I would like it to be, but it's fine. We're gonna start this new project because it's gonna be a doozy. I know it. So I think I'm gonna work on her shell first because I feel like that is the main... I mean, obviously Ariel is a star and it looks really, really cool. Unfortunately, I don't really have like a solid plan for this because I've never really done this before. One of the major things that I need to do is I need to obviously adhere this piece to this piece and make it open indefinitely. So I need to be able to find a strong enough support that will literally like join these two things together. You can't just glue it and call it a day. I also want to actually extend it up so it's actually gonna be like this technically, because when you put the doll, I want the shell to be above the doll's head, because right now it's literally almost in the same level. I want it to be like this. Obviously, because we're extending it, I'm going to add another shell part here. Let's call it wings or scallop detail. Right here, so it closes a little bit of the gap. We also have to customize this to blend it together. It's a little bit of a challenge and I'm quite nervous, so we'll see. For the spine, I decided to use these tubes. I'm not going to use all of them, I just needed some options of different heights. So let's go ahead and drill some hole onto our shell. For the bottom shell, I am drilling 2 holes technically. Or technically 3, one for the fountain tubing and one for the piping, for the spine piping. And I'm doing the same exact thing for the top shell. We're just going to be drilling it. Just want to make sure that the hole is big enough for the pipe. I made 2 major holes in there. This bigger one is to connect this shell to the other shell. And then this other hole actually connects to the bottom hole. And this is where our fountain pump tubing will go through. This is the other shell. as you can see, and the hole is over here. There might be some changes with the planning. I might have to, oh, this is how the shell will be laying on the fountain or whatever. But if I tilt the shell like this, then you can see it a little bit better. And I'm sure the water will be dropping a little bit better too. I might have to do some re-angling of this. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but all of these shells actually have a hollow area. But I think to make it easier and more structured and stronger, I think I need to fill up the inside of the shell with like cement or resin, because this is like so wobbly and I'd rather have it be like so stiff, you know? I'd rather have the stiffness in there, and it will weigh the shell down also, which I think would be good, because this needs to have a lot of weight in order to support the other shell. I'm gonna continue working on our shell wing, I guess, the additional shell wing. For that, I will be using epoxy sculpt, although we do need an armature to give your sculpture some sort of structure. It's already racking up. This project so far is definitely an expensive one for this year, and I'm not proud of it, but I am excited for the results. This is my first time using armature like this, so this was actually really exciting to do, because you can obviously pose it and make it work, you know, to the shape that you need it to be. And at the same time, because everything is made out of like mesh wire, when I put the clay on it, it also kind of transfers in the back. And when the epoxy sculpt like dries and cures over time, it just makes it a lot more durable and a lot harder. So I thought that was really cool. Adding some clay to it. Oh my god. This project is going to take up a lot of my epoxy sculpt. And I'm not happy about that. Oh, but I can't back down now, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Making it as thin as possible is definitely the key for this, because you don't want it to be too thick. So I think this is definitely like the fun part. Like all of the cosmetic stuff is always fun for me. I'm hoping that our finale like is gonna be such a good reward. I mean, I usually do feel very rewarded at the end. For now, I'm just gonna cover this part, the surface. And then tomorrow, after this part is dry, I'll do the back. I think that will be the good game plan. Trying to sculpt the epoxy to the back of the shell was actually really satisfying to do, because you don't have to be perfect with it. The more textured it is, the better. And trying to match the lines, like the natural lines of the shell, was really kind of fun to do, because you're just kind of like drawing it and adding a lot more texture in it. So yeah, the more like imperfect it looks, the more perfect it looks for some reason. So it's just more realistic looking. So we will be working with the cement. That's very watery. I think I made that way too watery. I definitely want this to be like a pourable consistency. It's like slowly, okay. That we definitely need to mix a little bit more for sure. Okay. We have a dilemma with the upper shell. Pouring concrete on it was not the move. It made it really heavy, to the point where if I put it together, it's just gonna fall. Also, the concrete mixture, adding a lot of water in it was also not the move, because it, I guess, changes the strength of the cement. It makes it really brittle, to the point where it wasn't even holding the pipe in it. You know, I put the pipe in there and it was not holding it. So I ended up removing the cement hours later. So I think I was able to, I think I managed to remove a lot of the cement. I mean, right now it's even heavy now because of the epoxy sculpt. Backup plan B is to try and use those expanding foam. There was a little hesitation because obviously this is a water fountain. I'm not sure how well that will work with water. Apparently this is a one-time use, so you can't really like use it after you open it. I'm not entirely sure how factual that is. Okay, well, I'm just gonna go for it. I am nervous the house because it's kind of hard to even tell. Ooh, I see it though. So I just added a little bit of tape because the expansion was actually pushing the pipe out. So I just added a little bit of tape just to hopefully maintain it there, maintain the angle. You guys, I have been out, a majority of this project so far is it's just been outside and I hate it. I feel like I'm gonna get sick because it's so windy and so cold, and I'm dealing with fumes and everything. I gotta say, she's still very, very heavy. Let's weigh it. This one shell is 8 pounds, but here is our foam. I don't think it's completely dry inside because apparently you're not supposed to use it in cavities and voids, and that's literally what the inside of the shell is. I do want to finally customize this part. In order to save some clay, I am just gluing some foil here to create the initial mass that we need in order to blend the epoxy sculpt better. And as you can see, I'm just doing my best to, again, create those lines, create those natural curves and textures in order to blend everything in. And again, this was really, really fun to do. The shells are drying. I'm gonna work on the piping. Like, I don't want the shell to be right here. I want the shell to be like, woo! And I also wanted the shell to be tilted like this. I'm gonna go ahead and heat this up with the heat gun. And then I'm thinking of reinforcing this with resin inside to make this a solid piece. Hopefully, it will be strong enough to carry that 10-pound roof now. It's like 10 pounds probably. Let me see. I'm gonna try and bend it. Oh, are you guys seeing it? Oh yeah, right there. Oh, she's a little hot though. Okay. I think that slight bend will be great. Ah! Shh, it went over. Oh my god, wait. Okay. What a freaking mess. Okay. I have to tilt the shell. And now in order to save some foil, I am using some scrap paper, and then I'm going over it with foil. We're just trying to save as much as we can. And on top of that, I will be covering it with cement. I feel like going over it first with cement will just give us an initial strength and coverage that we need. Also, it will weigh down the bottom shell, which is really, really important for this overall project because I want the bottom shell to be much heavier in order to support the top shell. And after the cement has dried, I went over it with epoxy sculpt again as the finishing layer. I feel like that will just seal everything in and just make it a lot more durable. And now it's time to combine the two shells together, and this part was actually very nerve-wracking and also kind of satisfying to see. I actually included 2 more chopsticks on the side of the tube, so it will provide more stability and also security, just so that the top shell doesn't wiggle and rotate around while we are sculpting it. And we're at it again with our foil and also epoxy sculpt method. And for this one, we're just trying to blend it in together, and we're trying to create a perfect unity from the top shell and also the bottom shell. And you know, you just want it to be as seamless as possible, although because it is a shell, it has those natural bumps and textures, which kind of worked in our favor. To make her more stable and secure when she's standing on the shell, I am taking a mold of her foot, kind of like a foot indent over here. As you can see, I'm just covering it with plastic, and we are pressing the doll's feet in there so that when she's standing up, she doesn't wiggle around and just go all over the place. We are pretty much done with the shell, and it's very fragile. I have to like hold it from the bottom all the time. It looks so freaking grand. Overall, I am really excited to start painting and coloring this and doing all of the cosmetics. I'm actually quite surprised I was able to get a spray paint that really matches the shell's original color. Although I did spray all over it just to make sure, it was still kind of satisfying to see that it was a very close match. Do you see how strong the freaking wind is? The camera's shaking, this is shaking, everything's shaking. Like, Storm really said, typhoon! For the inside of the shell, I went with this rose pink color, and this one is just a base coat. I go over it with the metallic rose color, which kind of gives it a more satin, pearlescent finish, which I really love. And this is what we have with the base coat of colors. As you can see, it looks really good already. I cannot wait to add more details. So for that, I am just dry brushing and giving a wash of deeper browns, black, gold, purple, like everything. I just want this shell to look as realistic as possible, but also kind of fantastical in a way. So I'm just taking those colors to really make the sculpt of this shell pop out and stand out. At first I wanted to actually paint the outer shell kind of like a purple color because she's always been kind of depicted sitting on a purple shell. But I was like, if I'm gonna display this in my house, I kind of want it to look aesthetically pleasing also for me. So I went for the realistic kind of like gilded shell approach. I did dry brush it with the purple shimmer a little bit here and there, just so that in some lighting it will appear purple. So I thought that was a really cool common ground for both colors. Here is the shell. I actually really love the color of it. Sorry, she is heavy. I actually sprayed it with purple and green glitter. So yeah, I can still smell the fumes. Oh my god, how cool, you can literally see the glitter here. Yeah, I'm not sure if I should go with the resin on the bottom and over here. When I was testing it, the water was obviously gathering here inside, like at the bowl. I feel like, just to be sure I should do it, I'm just like, oh my god, it's gonna take like 2 days. I can't do this. I'm not ready. Okay. I am nervous. The house down boots. At this point, I was really hoping that covering this overall with resin will make it more waterproof, because I have been researching on so many different methods to make something waterproof. The resin was the best approach to this. There are some options that you can spray or, you know, brush on, but they didn't seem powerful enough, and some you can't even use on top of the paint. So I'm like, I guess resin is the best way to go. So now I kind of want to start working on the doll. So right now I am in between the shell and the water fountain process. I will be using a made to move body with, of course, this Ariel Halle Bailey face. In terms of articulation, I do want to keep her arm movement, and that is pretty much it. Everything else will be posed, and we're going to figurify it because I really want the Venus pose with the tilt. We're just gonna be modifying her waist a little bit just to cinch it up a bit. Doing the boiling method is not my favorite technique just because you don't have as much control with how you're modifying the body. But because I only needed a slight cinch in there, I thought, why not? Now let's go ahead and pose her, give her the Venus tilt, and make sure to super glue all of the joints shut, minus her arms, of course. I was very particular with how her legs and also her chest are posed because I am trying to recreate the Venus tilt, and I want everything to be perfect as much as possible, like she literally came out of the painting. Time to blend all of her joints together using epoxy sculpt. I thought this process was kind of necessary to kind of give it a more realism vibe to her, and because her dress is going to be kind of semi-transparent and almost see-through, I do want all of the joints and doll anatomy to be seamless. I feel like that will just look more satisfying under her dress, and I feel like it won't be as distracting. After sanding, we can finally color match her using acrylic paint and also Mod Podge. I think I was working in 5 to 6 layers of this, and I was spraying it in between with Mr. Super Clear to really make the paint adhere to the skin. And now we can go ahead and add more skin details using our soft pastels. And you guys know I can kind of get carried away with my blushing and also body contouring, among other things. I don't know, I just love it. I am so obsessed with it. Everything needs to be blushed. I just feel like it just adds so much life into the doll. And I just love how satisfying and kind of airbrushed it looks. I don't know, I really just love it. Now let's talk about her hands. I cannot have Ariel as the Birth of Venus over here with these regular Barbie made-to-move hands. I mean, they are just not giving elegance. They're not giving renaissance. They're not delicately posed. So I collaborated with Cheyenne of Gothic Zombie on Instagram to create more delicate hand poses. We created 3 different hand poses inspired by classic art paintings and how they rendered their hand poses, and I am just obsessed. I even asked them to include long nails onto the sculpt of the hands because you guys know I love long nails and they're just so glamorous and elegant. And if I need it shorter, I can always just sand it down. For Ariel, I'm only going to be using the 2 open hand pose, not necessarily the closed hand pose. And at least for this one, we have a little bit of variation. So like her body, let's go ahead and paint it with our acrylic paint and Mod Podge mixture and build in those layers, body blush it, and make it match. I really feel like giving her this elegant hand pose was kind of important for the overall feel, the overall vibe of the doll. I feel like, I mean, if you have this beauty and elegance with how she is posed and her body language, I feel like it just resonates with the overall piece that we're trying to make. And again, thank you so much, Gothic Zombie, for this amazing collaboration. You cannot be an ex-mermaid, or honestly, you cannot be a doll made by me without body glitter, especially an excess amount of it. So here we are just giving her some body glitter, hand glitter, face glitter, everything. She said, "Cleo Denial, eat your heart out." Now, because she is the main star of this water fountain, I feel like we need to take the extra step to make her waterproof as much as we can. Now, I do think Mr. Super Clear does make the doll water resistant, but I am coating her lower half with matte gel top coat in order to really seal that in and protect it. I mean, look at this pose, like, oh my god! Is just so freaking right. Like, I'm so obsessed. Now let's go ahead and prepare her face for our reroot and face up. While the background stuff is happening, I do want to start rerouting the doll because we still have to wait for the glue to dry. It's going to be the same exact technique and almost the same exact hairstyle that I have done for my previous Halle Bailey Ariel dolls, so you guys can definitely check out all of those. And I did make her hair a lot longer. I feel like that just adds to the drama and the magic of it. I feel like the red hair will literally frame her body, and also it will add to the wet look effect. Like she's just, her hair is so down and heavy because it's so wet. But it looks really, really cool, and I cannot wait to start the face. Like her hair, I'm pretty much doing the same exact face up for this Ariel. I am tweaking it a little bit, you know, giving it a little bit more variation, maybe a more bold eyeshadow, and just a different vibe, but I'm hoping that it still looks like my previous Ariel dolls. I am giving her purple eyeshadow. I feel like that will just make everything pop. And I mean, you know, we're going for glam, we're going for fantasy, so why not? Instead of giving her 3D lashes, I'm actually drawing them on this time, which is a first for my Ariel dolls because all of them have 3D lashes. But because I plan on submerging this entire thing in water, I wanted to play it safe and just draw on the lashes. And we are done with her face, and I think she looks absolutely amazing and glamorous and elegant. And this is like her true final form, and I'm so obsessed with it. So an update on the dress, which I don't recall if I have given you guys an update or not. It has been a whirlwind of weeks. I actually found this fabric in my local fabric store here in Vegas. Like it's multicolor, it's like rainbow almost, but I will be dyeing this purple. I want to dip dye it purple so that, you know, it has like lavender aspects to it. I have asked That Plastic Biz on Instagram if they can create this beautiful magical mermaid gown. They were able to do it so beautifully, and I actually had them make 2 versions of the dress just in case I make a mistake. It looks absolutely amazing. Look at it. Oh my freaking god. This is the non-slit version. I actually really do prefer this one. Oh my god. The wet look is so cool. It looks like magic as a dress. You know, it looks really, really nice. So yeah, I'm going to dip dye this in the bottom. I literally dipped it in like 2 seconds. It was kind of crazy how reactive the fabric is to the dye. So I'm excited. Okay, there's that. In my sketch, I drew her with her sleeves kind of off the shoulder, but because the fabric is not gonna act like that, it's way too stiff, I thought of referencing my very first Halle Bailey Ariel doll, and I'm like, why not give her some pearls and gems for her off-the-shoulder sleeves? It just cascades a lot better, it's just more magical and more glamorous, and I thought it was a beautiful 360 moment of my very first Halle Bailey Ariel doll with my very last one. Let's go ahead and dress her up. Of course, because it's a fountain, it needs to hold like a lot of water. We're gonna be using this big planter. It is made out of plastic, so it's not inherently heavy. And of course, for the shell to actually have something to stand on, I have this over here, which I'm gonna need to drill several holes in. I did buy some pebbles as well. I'm definitely going to use this to really weigh down our fountain. I definitely have to clean it first though, so. I really love the design of this vase. I keep calling it a vase, but this planter aesthetically, and I feel like painting it white will truly give us that Grecian goddess vibes, and I think it would look great. a little update with the fountain base. Incorporating the fountain in this one has been very, very difficult. The base of the fountain, where it's gonna hold the water. It's all great, it's working, it's great, it holds a lot of water, the pump is submerged. It's not looking right. Plus, the safety issue of it being knocked over so easily is also scary to me because the diameter of it, the opening of the vase, is not that wide. When I was testing this outside, it was very windy and I can see the shell, the overall thing just shaking. One wrong move, the entire shell would literally shatter. I have been like trying to figure out, should I even make it into a fountain? And I'm like, I literally spent like 4 weeks like making this shell with the fountain in mind. Like I was doing all of these safety precautions, making the base heavy and whatnot, because I want it to be a very sturdy fountain. So I feel like I can't go back now. It was kind of just difficult to see the testing of it because it didn't look grand. When the shell is just by itself, I feel like it looks really grand. It looks like, wow. Like I feel like it's such a statement. Before that though, I do want to try another plan to change the vase, to change the water basin. I was able to find the planter that is quite perfect for what we're going for. It's not as extravagant looking, like it doesn't have sculpted Grecian looking vibes to it, but it's literally so wide. I think this would overall create that dynamic composition where it looks really grand. Now let's do the finishing touches. I wanted her stand to be almost invisible, so I actually have this plastic rod. Of course it's plastic, so it doesn't rust. And I drilled a hole on her back and also onto the shell, so that is how she will be attached to the shell. And because of the indent we did on the bottom of the shell, that will just secure her in place. I almost forgot to give her nail polish, and for that I am just using this rosy pink color. And don't worry, I also painted her thumbs off camera. And to finish it off, let's go ahead and decorate her shell to add some more drama and fantasy. Now let's set up the fountain. I am using 2 fog machines that I got from Amazon, as you can see over here, and one is actually enough, but for more drama, I'm using 2. And I'm using this water pump with an adjustable pressure level, which is really helpful for this. Now I'm just covering the entire foundation of the fountain with lots of pebbles. Now let's add some H2O. Oh my god, it's heavy! We're submerging! We're submerging! Oh. Her hair!